If you are going to start taking Social Security while you are still working or considering it, maybe you're going to start taking Social Security early at 62 or at 65 when you start Medicare, or 67, which is your full retirement age. There's some things you need to know as it relates to how much money you can make outside of that. So in today's episode, we're going to be explaining that to you so you don't get penalized, you don't make any mistakes. We're going to make it all crystal clear to you. Welcome to Medicare School Daily. We're excited to be with you here today, guys. We're here every day from 11 a.m. Central to noon, taking your calls, doing some Medicare or Social Security education, and talking to folks about what's going on in their world as it relates to Medicare and Social Security and retirement. So if you want to be a part of today's show, you can call the number that's down at the bottom of the screen. It's 833-824-2004, 833-824-2004. We'd love to talk to you. This is your opportunity to talk to Marvin, who's really the nation's leading expert on this stuff, probably educates more people than anyone else in the country, without a doubt. And so it's a good opportunity to get your questions answered in a non-sales environment. Most of the people that you talk to that say they're Medicare experts are trying to sell you something. Obviously, we're not going to sell you something on this show today. So get your questions answered. Take advantage of that opportunity. This show, of course, is on YouTube. It's on podcasts. We're going to eventually transition this show to its own YouTube channel. So we want you to be able to keep watching the show. So what you need to do is go to MedicareSchoolDaily.com, MedicareSchoolDaily.com. There's a YouTube icon. You can click on that, and it'll load up the new channel on YouTube for this show, and you can click subscribe. Subscribing, of course, is free, but it just allows you to get notified when we launch a new channel or when we put the show on there exclusively. Okay, let's hop into this. Let's talk about Social Security specifically. Yesterday we covered kind of like what the penalties are for taking early, because obviously if you take your Social Security early, there's going to be some penalties. So maybe we'll do a 30-second recap of that. But then I want to talk about how much money can people make as it relates to Social Security.
Sounds good. Well, of course, the first thing everyone has to know is what their full retirement age is. For the majority of people, probably now that we're, our audience, you're born from 1960 thereafter, so you will have a full retirement age of 67. Those that were born before 1960, they would have a full retirement age of 66 and some months. So if you're born in 59, it was 66 and 10 months, 1958, 66 and 8 months, and all the way down to 1955. And so what we're going to talk about today is the earnings test, and I want to make sure everyone understands that once we have reached our full retirement age, and that's why this is so important, we do not have an earnings test. But anytime we take Social Security before we hit our full retirement age, we will be limited as to how much money we make. And so kind of big picture, the way I want to present this is we have a low amount for the earnings test and we have a high amount. Okay. So the low amount actually begins at the first eligibility of Social Security, which is age 62. Okay. Right? So that's when it begins. So let's keep it real simple. We can kind of picture this in our mind. But let's say that someone has a date of birth of July 4th, 1961. This year, they're going to turn 65. Okay. So what happens is they could begin their Medicare 7/1 of 2026, but they also could begin, their Social Security. They could. Their Medicare. So what happens? That person that is turning 65 this year, they're not going to reach their full retirement age for 2 more years. Yeah. So that's going to be July 1 of 2028 will be their full retirement age, exact month and year. And I'll show you why that matters in just a minute. And so from the time they turn 62 up until, in my example, December of 2027, So they have not yet reached the year they're going to turn full retirement age. So that would be December 2027. So during that period of time, which is for, we're talking several years here, 4.5, 5 years, they can only make very limited amounts of money for their work. And again, I remind people when we talk about earnings tests, this is earned income. This is not investment income, rental income, pension income,
Working
annuity
a
income.
job.
Totally
Getting
working.
wages.
Exactly right. Getting wages. And it's not their spouse either. It's just theirs.
Self-employment income included here?
It would
Okay.
be net self-employment income.
Okay.
So whatever that, they're going to report as that. So that number this year, and again, it'll be more next year, but right now, that number is $24,480. That is it, $24,480. And so if anyone's going to be above that amount, for every $2 they're above the amount, they're going to take $1 out of their Social Security check. Now, when we think about the dollar coming out, most people call it a penalty, and that's probably a pretty accurate way, at least, to look at it. But the most important thing about that is this: if I am going to be above the limit, and we're going to project it, or we know for sure what it's going to be, then what they're going to do is they're going to actually withhold full Social Security checks. So let's keep it simple. Let's say that I know my limit's $24,480, but I make $12,000 above that. Okay, so my penalty is $6,000.
Okay,
right?
so you make $12,000 above, they're going to withhold $1 from your Social Security benefits for every $2 you make. That's how we got to $6,000.
That's exactly right. That's right. Okay, so let's also keep it simple, and let's say that our Social Security benefit monthly is $2,000. That's the average $2,000. So I was above 12. That means my penalty is $6,000. My check amount is $2,000. So that means they're going to withhold 3 checks before exactly right, before they actually are going to give me my check. So it's front loaded. Okay, and so that's the low amount, $24,480. That's from 62 up until December before I turn my full retirement age. So back to my example, someone hits their full retirement age July of 2028. So that means in January of 2028 all the way through June, that would be a 6-month window. They're now at the high earnings amount. The high earnings amount
changes the year you hit your full retirement age.
Exactly right. Yeah, it changes. So, and in my example, it goes from January to June. It could be somebody that's maybe
January.
Yeah,
or it could be January to December,
March,
right?
Whatever. It's an annual amount.
Okay.
So that number this year is $65,160. So it's almost 3 times the amount. So we can make a tremendous amount more money, and the penalty is less. For every $3 I'm above, they're going to take $1 out of my check. And again, it's all front loaded.
So let's say, I'm trying to understand this along with you.
Yes.
So if let's say instead of making $65,000 in the year that they turn their full retirement age, they make $95,000.
Exactly right.
So that's $30,000 more.
Right.
So they're going to have a $10,000 penalty. It's 3 to 1.
Exactly right. Mm-hmm. And so if there's $2,000 benefit, they'd be withholding 5 checks before they actually would turn on their benefit. So it's an annual amount. So,
but what if they were already on their benefit? Like they've been taking it since 62, so they've been taking it for 5 years. Yeah.
So
in January. Are they submitting this to the Social Security office saying, I'm going to make $95,000?
They are. Yeah.
Okay. So are they going to get a letter for
They will.
that?
They're going to get a notice from them and let them know they can only make so much money and what are they estimating that to be.
So if they write in, I'm going to make $95,000 in the entire year,
right?
Then they're going to say, okay, we're going to withhold 5 Social Security checks because the penalty is $10,000.
That's right.
You're making $30,000 over, 3 to 1, $10,000 penalty. Yeah. We're going to take full checks and front load, so you're not going to get your first check until June.
That's right. And here's why that matters, son, because Social Security wants to make that calculation because what happens, they're going to find out about them being over.
Backtracking.
Oh, that's why people sometimes owe Social Security a tremendous amount of money. Okay. And what happens? They begin to withhold those checks. So they will pay that money back.
So don't try to outsmart the system.
Oh, yeah, you will not do that. They'll catch you. Now, here's the thing. It's a big system, so they may not catch you for 6 months or a year. But I've had plenty of clients that very disappointed that they didn't report accurate numbers, or maybe things changed with their circumstances. They didn't think they'd have a penalty, but now they do, and they're paying that money back.
Okay, so here's a question. Yeah. So in your example, we've got somebody who's turning 65 in this July, so their full retirement age is July of 2028. So in the year they turn 67, right, which is 2028, they can make up to $65,000. Is that before they turn their full retirement age of 67 in July, or is that for the entire year of 2028?
It's an annual amount. It's an annual amount. So
because I always thought once you hit your full retirement age, you can make as much money as you wanted.
Oh, you can. Okay, I misunderstood your question. So no, once we reach our full retirement age, there is no earnings test.
So is the 65 or the 95,000? Is that for the first
Yeah,
6 months?
It could be if you let's say it this way. Let's say you hit your full retirement age month in March.
Okay.
You can make $65,160
Up to that point.
in January and February.
So it's not for the full.
No, it's an annual amount.
Okay.
Yeah,
Which most people aren't going to do that, so it's kind of irrelevant,
not. But it is an annual amount. Okay. And so what also matters, and this is where it gets kind of confusing, but it's important to note, because what happens when people go on and they apply for Social Security, it's very possible that they have already exceeded that amount. Okay, they've exceeded it. So let's keep it simple right now. Someone's turning 65 this July,
okay.
And they are going to retire, and they're going to take Medicare and Social Security at the same time. They're going to be subject to an earnings test.
Well, yeah, if they do it in the middle of the year, they've maybe probably made more than $24,000.
Oh, most people
right?
have,
okay.
for sure. So what happens, and this only happens once, the year you take, the government will look at one or two numbers. It'll look at the annual amount. So if you've already exceeded that, which most people have, with the low amount especially, and then they'll say once you start taking your Social Security moving forward, then they'll take that annual amount, they divide it by 12. So this year, the $24,480 is $2,040. So they'll say once you start taking, let's say I take in July, moving forward, how many months remaining in the year will you be above that amount? And they'll say, I'm not going to be above that.
Because I'm retiring.
Exactly
yeah,
right. So then there's no penalty at all.
So they kind of like wipe the slate clean for that year and say, doesn't really matter.
That's right.
We're looking
it's
forward.
Annual or monthly. Okay, but then the next year, it's an annual amount.
Okay.
So it's only the first year you take that they will look at either one of those numbers. And when people are applying for Social Security, they're going to see that because they're going to ask you how much.
Who walks them through this? Does the benefits person of Social Security? Or?
Well, once they've made, during the application process, no one, unless, they work with us or somebody that, can coach them through that application. Okay. But then what happens is once they filed it, then the person who's assigned to their case will walk them through that. Okay. Yeah, that's what I mean. They'll take their questions and make sure they understand it.
Yeah.
But it's confusing that way. Now, I think another thing to note here is that everyone needs to realize that if I take my retirement benefit or a spousal benefit or a survivor benefit, all of those, the earnings test applies. Okay. Because there's 4 ways we take Social Security: retirement, spousal, survivor, or disability. Okay, disability would be a different system, but all 3 of those other ways, retirement, spousal,
are the earning tests the same for at least? Yeah, is the earning test the same?
Yeah, oh, yeah, it's the same amount.
Same numbers, and 2 to 1 and 3 to 1.
Yeah, which I hate. The one I hate about that is because you think about a lady, her husband dies, and she's eligible for survivor benefit, and she still has an earnings test. I hate that, and I feel for people.
Okay, that brings up another question. So is this $24,480 or the $65,160 in the year that you turn your full retirement age, is that household income, or is that your personal income?
Personal, not household. Not household. Household's going to matter, when we talk about IRMAAs and those kinds of things. Your personal this income is totally personal. Has nothing to do with your spouse whatsoever, because it's your Social Security benefit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. All right. So that's the way that works. And
then once they turn their full retirement age.
No more.
Yeah.
No earnings
so
test
even
at
if
all?
they've been taking since 62, once they hit their 67th, the month they turn 67, make $100,000 every month.
That's right. Hey, we have plenty of clients that will, for a couple of years, maybe they'll take 1 or 2 years early, and they'll purposely keep their income below their earnings test, and then once they hit full retirement age, boom, maybe back to work full time.
Okay.
They don't have to worry about it whatsoever.
Mini retirement.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think another thing we ought to clarify is that there's a lot of people say, well, that money, what happens to that money? That money, they withheld, 6 checks or 3 checks from me.
What happens to it?
Well, what happens is, number one, they're going to get it back, but it is not lump sum at all. What they do is once someone has reached that full retirement age, they will add that money back in there and recalculate what their benefit's going to be.
Okay.
So the way I explain it is you're going to get the money back, but it's more prorated. Yeah, they'll recalculate it for retirement age.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, let's say we withheld 10 months.
How long does it take to get it back?
I've never done the math on that.
Yeah.
I just know it's over time.
Okay.
So that'd be a great question. I've just never taken the time to figure that one out.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, thank you. Yeah. That was good. Guys, if you have questions about this, call in, ask us. We can walk through your particular situation. Obviously, we're not going to give you specific numbers, but we can at least help you. My dad can help you think through kind of how this works for your situation, because it is confusing. And you don't want to make mistakes. Yeah. This is Social Security for most people in retirement is their primary source of income. So you want to make sure you're maximizing what you can get for sure. So, okay. Hey, guys, if you want to be a part of the show, if you have a Medicare question, if you have a, like an experience that you want to share with us, we'd love to hear. We get smarter. Everybody watching the show gets smarter by understanding what's happening out there in the real world. So don't keep your Medicare or Social Security experiences to yourself. It helps us all make better decisions. If you want to be a part of the show, the phone number is down at the bottom of the screen, 833-824-2004, 833-824-2004. We're going to get to the phone lines here in a minute, but before I do that, I just want to say if you need help with your Medicare planning or Social Security, maybe getting an Advantage plan or a supplement plan, drug coverage, dental insurance, whatever it is set up, we have a team of people that would love to help you. We're an insurance brokerage here. Obviously, we do a lot of education, and that's our true passion. But we also have to pay the bills somehow. And so the way we do that is we have a team of people that are licensed in all 50 states. They're trained by my dad personally, and we hold them to a very high standard of being able to understand how all the Medicare system works, take your situation, your physical, your financial, all of your needs, concerns, your doctors, the hospitals you want to see, the medications you take, all of these things, and filter that down into what truly is going to be right for your situation. And so we can help you do that. We'll do all the paperwork, do all the heavy lifting to help you make that transition to Medicare with ease and confidence, because it is confusing. There's a lot of conflicting information. Mm-hmm. So our cost for that is free. So we're insurance brokers. We don't charge you anything. So we'd love to help. The phone number to get in touch with our office is 833-833-3661, 833-833-3661. You can call in today. We're open from 7 a.m. Central to 7 p.m. Central every single day, and we would love to help you. Okay, let's get to our first caller. Hello, is this Kimberly?
Yes.
Hi, Kimberly. What can we do for you? Welcome to Medicare School Daily.
Well, thank you very much. So, quick question. I am 65, or I'll be 65 in November.
Okay.
Considering taking my Social Security benefits in September versus age 67. So, my question is this. If I took a lower paying job, probably about 4 years ago, just to relieve the stress of life.
Sure.
So my question is this. The printout that we get from the FSA telling us what our benefits will be, because I've taken a lower paying job, will that amount be reduced because I'm taking a lower paying job, for the next however many years?
Yes, yeah, it will be possibly. Let me share what happens. They go in and calculate your primary insurance amount, everyone's, at age 62. They lock in what we call the break points. And so they have calculated based upon what your previous income has been. And so if you're going to for sure make less money, then there probably will be some adjustment, meaning they probably gave you the benefit of a higher dollar amount as they calculated those averages to determine your Social Security benefits. So that is possible. I would say this. Remember, it's the top 35 years. So it's probably not going to affect it drastically, but it could affect it some.
Yeah, and it's just, I think it's be pretty minimal. I don't want you to think that because you've taken a lower paying job, all of a sudden it's decreased massively, right? They take I think they take the top 35 years of your income, all of the history that you've paid in at 62.
And then they recalculate it every year.
Yeah, so
okay, wait a minute, hold on.
Sorry about that. I was
two people were talking.
My bad. What we were saying is, Josh said they take the top 35 years, and that is true. So what happens is they calculate that number at age 62. So then at 63, if you made more money than one of those previous years, then they're going to bring in another year. They replace lower earnings years with higher earnings years. So if you were to have some that are going to be higher, those could be replaced. So if it's going to be lower, then they're not going to change that. It would be the same. And then what happens is if you're not taking at age 62, as they recalculate it, whatever the cost of living adjustment is, then you get the credit of that. Okay. So that's the way the system works.
Because right now at 67, it's showing right at $3,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
So I can, if I stay at this little, low stress job, at least to 67, are we talking about a loss of maybe 200 of that or 300 of that a month?
I don't think
Oh,
I don't
I
think
doubt
so
it,
at
yeah.
all. I would be surprised by that. No, I think you're going to be fine.
Okay.
And again,
Well, and plus, I don't know how much you're making, but it could be more than you made 35 years ago.
yeah.
Yeah,
They inflate those.
yeah. So, it may not affect it at all.
Yeah, I would. If it were me, honestly, I'm not saying your concern is not legitimate, but I would not stress out over that. I think there could be some impact, but I just don't think it's going to be great. I do not.
Okay, wonderful. All right, you've answered my question. Thank you, and thank you guys for having this show that you're doing. We'll
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Yeah, thanks for calling in today too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, I want to talk about that for a minute, if we can,
Yep.
because I want to understand. So my understanding was they take the top 35 years of your history. If you didn't work for 35 years, I guess those would be filled in with zeros.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
So, and then they apply like a cost of living. So obviously wages 35 years ago, there's been a lot of inflation. So they basically pull all of those numbers into today's.
Well, here's the way it works. So just you're close, but what happens is they once you're 60, then they don't apply the index.
Oh,
So
really?
the indexing
Okay.
stops at 60. So then, it's all then just face dollar amounts after 60.
Okay, so they're going to take those older things,
Yeah,
they're going
they
to
will.
pull it into today's dollars, but at
right.
60, it's going to stop. And so, it could be that maybe part of her earnings history, she was making next to nothing, even with that.
Top 30.
And so it could be that maybe the little amount she's making could be more, and so it could actually pull her benefit up a little bit slightly.
Yeah, exactly right.
I think we're talking about like dollars here.
Yeah, I
Dollars
don't
and
think
cents.
substantial.
Yeah.
I've never taken one person's amount and figured it out. But that's the.
But so they're going to take the top 35 years. They're going to stop at 62. Is that what you said?
Yeah, that's right. Well, here's what they're going to do at 62. They're going to calculate her primary insurance amount, which is the your full benefit at age 67. They actually calculate it at 62, and the reason is because they lock in those break points.
Okay.
Like right now, I think the first break point. Let's say it's $1,276.
Sure.
I'm not sure what it
Yeah.
is. You can look those
It's a
up.
bend point, right?
Yeah, bend points. So when you look at the bend points, they actually lock that in when you're 62, and your bend points will never change. So it's the first
So it's
one.
90% of the first 1286.
There you go. Okay.
And then you get 32% of the next
like 7,007 something.
between 1286 and 7749.
There you go.
And then you get 15% of any
above.
amount
Yeah.
over 7749.
So my point is that 1286 you said and the 7,774 whatever it is, that will never change now once they're 62, because next year those break points for somebody else would be different. That's why you can have people.
Go finish it.
I'm saying that's why you can have people that would retire. Let's say it this way. Let's say I'm 2 years older than you,
okay,
and we retire at the same age.
Okay,
your benefit will be greater than mine.
Why?
Well, because those bend points have moved up.
Let's do an episode on this. I
Okay.
want to talk about bend points. I want to draw it out because I think it could be helpful.
Oh yeah,
for people.
yeah. And the reason they call them bend points is because you look on a graph and they're bending.
Okay. Oh yeah, I've seen them. Yeah,
exactly.
And there's like software I think that kind of helps calculate this, but I'd like to know for my own kind of just ease.
Yeah.
And I think people as they're making decisions on this stuff, I think would be.
Yeah. So let's go back to what we're saying. Top 35 years, index those up to present money at age 60, and then real face, and then they take that amount and they divide it by 420 months, 35 years, and now we have what we call our averaged index monthly earnings.
Yeah, AIME.
That's right, and they apply that. The bend points go to that, and that comes up. Then they calculate our primary insurance amount. That's what we're eligible for at 67. So if I take at 66, I lose 6% of my primary insurance amount. Take at 65, I lose 12%.
Okay.
So they
let's do an episode on this. I want to draw it all out. I think it'd be helpful for people to, for those of you who are nerds or want to nerd out and want to know precisely.
We nerd out about all this stuff.
We'll do it. Okay. We got some comments. Guys, if you are if you are on our Facebook group or not on our Facebook group, or inside our Facebook group, I encourage you to join that. It's called Medicare School Community. You can go into your Facebook app, type in Medicare School Community. It'll pop up. There's going to ask you a few questions. But basically, we don't want to, if you're a sales agent, we don't want you in there because we don't want people selling stuff inside this Facebook group. We want people like you that are in there asking questions, hearing from other people who are on Medicare about their experiences and questions. How's this company? What sort of benefit? Whatever the situation is, there's about 60,000 people in there right now that are very active, ask questions, learn from each other every single day. So hop into that Facebook group. We're going to answer some questions from within there right now, and but join that. I think it's a great resource. Okay. If someone on COBRA had gotten their Medicare A and B when they turned 65, would she have been out of time to get a supplement without underwriting when the COBRA ran out months later?
Okay. Yeah, so the COBRA really has, COBRA's important, but COBRA has nothing to do with that question.
Okay.
So what happens is if they take A and B, they only have 6 months of their Medigap OEP. So that COBRA could have lasted 12 or 18 months.
Yeah.
But yeah. And so the big issue here is we tell people if you're going to use COBRA, and frankly, why would you do that? Well, because your employer's paying for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But even though the employer may pay for 12 or 18 months, I still do not want to go beyond 6 months without enrolling into my Medigap policy, because after 6 months, I'm going to have to now medically qualify to do that. Okay, now here's where it becomes an issue, Josh. Sometimes people, let's say husband and wife, or maybe even kids, and so they have the COBRA plan, and so it could be in the best interest of the family to stay on that COBRA, but the one that's Medicare eligible does not want to go 6 months beyond the B date. Okay. So what I encourage people to do, if you have to stay on COBRA for family, it's fine, but we're going to take our supplemental plan within 6 months of our B date, so we don't have to medically qualify in the future. And then what happens is the one that's on Medicare, when they go to the doctor, they go to the hospital, they're not going to give them their COBRA plan anymore. They're going to give them their A and B card and their Medicare supplemental card. The spouse, the children that are on it, then they're still going to use the COBRA insurance. Okay. Yeah, that's just the way you have to handle it from a practical standpoint.
That's interesting.
That's right. But so, and the big thing, though, what we want to remind people is this. If you're on COBRA and you're eligible for Medicare, you've got to enroll in a Medicare A and B to put them in the first payer position, because COBRA is going to pay second. And in the second payer position, that's fine as long as we don't lose our Medigap OEP, the opportunity to get a Medigap, with no underwriting.
So if you've maybe been, laid off, and part of the severance package is the company is going to pay for your COBRA for 12 months or whatever. Because I feel like that's generally the situation. We're going to give you X number of months to pay for COBRA to help you make a transition, and you are Medicare eligible, or your spouse, right? Then you need to take A and B
for sure
right away, because if not, you are on the hook for everything that Medicare would have paid.
That's right.
Because COBRA is going to take the secondary position.
That's right.
So get on A and B immediately. And then the second thing is, if you are going to get a Medicare supplement plan, like a Plan G or a Plan N, which you probably are, you need to do that within 6 months of your Medicare Part B effective date.
And we count the birth month as one of those 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah,
so it's really birth month plus 5.
That's exactly right. That's the 6. Okay. Yeah. Now, and again, when we talk about Medicare paying first, COBRA paying second, that's only for those that are on Medicare. So if the spouse is 62 and the kids are 25, no big deal. COBRA's still going to pay first. I also want to clarify that COBRA, if we lose, just have a normal termination of employment, that COBRA we're eligible for 18 months. There are some circumstances where it's 29 months. Other circumstances, 36 months. Yep. So there's a variety of that. So depending upon the purpose of going on COBRA will determine the length of time we get to have it. Okay. Yeah. So great question. I mean, I've seen people mess this up multiple times.
Okay. Another question. I have original Medicare with Plan N and WellCare for drugs. Up until now, I've never used it because I didn't need to. I'm 66 if that matters. But now I have a concern about my health. Nothing specific. I just feel off and don't have as much stamina as I used to. Once I find a doctor, will Medicare pay for a medical exam just to see if something is wrong? If it turns out I'm fine, will they pay for the exam anyway?
Yes. Okay. So here's what this is. This is not a preventive issue.
Yeah.
You're having a health problem. You're off.
Yeah.
Something's just not right. And so when you go to your doctor, the first thing they're going to do, this is diagnosis. They're going to probably run blood work to see what's happening, and then they may end up deciding beyond that. They may want to run some kind of a scan or do some kind of a pathology, pathological type situation. So all of that is medically necessary and covered by Medicare. So
however, it's not going to be free.
Oh,
She's got a plan in. So what's her financial
right. So
outlay
here's what's going to happen. The first thing, whether you have a G or an N, you're going to have to meet your B deductible. So that first doctor visit may be out of your pocket. So you're going to pay the first $283 of anything on the B side, which is all doctor services and everything outpatient. So you're going to meet the deductible. So then what happens is everything on the B side after deductible is going to be 80/20. Now, if you had a G plan, you wouldn't pay anything. But on the N plan, what happens? Medicare pays 80, and you're responsible for the 20%. Your N plan will pay the 20% fully, less your copay. And that copay could be $20, it could be $18, but that's the way everyone on N plan needs to look at this. When I see a doctor, specialist, a primary care doctor, face-to-face telehealth, you're going to be responsible for that copay. After copay, they'll pay the balance of the 20%. Sure. So if I have a $400 bill, 20% is going to be, $80. So what'll happen, I'll pay 20, and the plan will pay the 60.
Okay, I have a question. How does on the plan N, how does that relate to the deductible?
Okay.
Do they, let's say the very first service of the year, they go in, they have $1,000 worth of bills at a doctor. Are they paying 20 plus 283?
No, they're going. 283 is coming right off the top. So if it's a $1,000 bill, we're going to move 283, and then they're going to take that balance, and now they're going to be responsible for the
$20 copay.
Exactly, $20 copay.
Okay, so it's
the plan
283 plus 20. Probably. So 303.
Exactly right. Yeah. Now, what happens, Josh, someone could have, let's say, an $80 doctor visit. It's 80/20. Medicare pays $64, and now we have a balance of $16.
So it's up to a $20 copay.
Exactly right. So in that example, the plan would pay nothing because you're going to have your $16 copay.
Yeah. Okay.
So what they'll do,
but that's assuming they'd already met their deductible.
Correct. Okay. Correct. And what will happen is that the supplemental plan will actually send that back and tell the doc's office that amount is billed to as a copay.
Does that copay happen in real time, or is it just delayed? Like, do they get an EOB, explanation of benefits, and then a bill comes later?
They will.
Or are they? Because a lot of times, like on group insurance, like if I go to urgent care, like all this happens instantaneously. They're like, this is $40. Does it happen like that?
No,
on Medicare?
it will not. And the reason it can't is because when they see the provider is obligated before there can be any billing. The contract says they will bill Medicare first.
Okay.
And so, but I will tell you, Medicare pays very fast.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's 2-3 weeks, very fast. And they'll get supplemental company is going to pay fast as well. And frankly, this is why a lot of the providers like supplemental plans because they get paid within probably 3 or 4 weeks. They're all settled up. If it's Advantage plan, could be a couple months. It's true. So that's what happens.
when you have a copay on an Advantage plan, though, so separate from a supplement plan, I would think they probably collect that copay at point of service, right?
Exactly right.
Yeah. Okay. Because it says on the card, like, there's a $40 copay or whatever it is.
You're right. Yeah. They're responsible for it at point of sale because then the Advantage plan is responsible for everything thereafter.
Yes. Yeah. Makes sense. Okay. That's I love that. Okay. Another question here. Am I able to switch mid-year from my G plan to an Advantage plan, or can I see about a plan in? So those are kind of two different questions. So person wants to, maybe like right now, move off the G plan. So how can they get to an Advantage plan if they want to do that? And how could they maybe switch to a plan in if they want to do that?
All right. Well, the only way, let's clarify this. So today is, what is today, 7th, 8th, 9th, whatever it is. We're in April.
I think it's the 8th of April.
Okay, right. So this will be on, this.
Or not, whatever it is, 9th,
right. So point is, right now, if someone's on original Medicare with a supplemental plan, they cannot move to an Advantage plan with one exception. Okay. And that would be if they qualified for a C-SNP plan. a
which
chronic
is what?
SNP plan. The CSNP is an acronym that stands for Chronic Special Needs Plan. And so I think that'd be the only way they would do it. So that means they have diabetes, they have COPD, they have heart failure, they have some, or not necessarily heart failure, but some kind of heart issue going on. So I think they could qualify for a CSNP plan. But if they don't have a qualifying condition, then they cannot at this time move to an Advantage plan. Now, they will be able to later this year, October 15th through December the 7th will be the time. Now, the supplemental plan they're on, it will be their coverage until December 31st. So that Advantage plan they pick out during the open enrollment season will go into effect January 1. Got that?
Yep.
So the issue would be, I think, if they have a chronic plan, I think they have an SEP to be able to go on to an Advantage. But how does that work? It works because there will be a drug component built within that, and so by changing drug plans, having a chronic SNP plan, it'll knock out their standalone drug plan.
Yeah,
that's how it works. The kind of the mechanics.
So to move to an Advantage plan, unless you have a chronic issue,
right now,
right, you can't move to an Advantage plan until annual enrollment period, which then that plan would start January 1st of
exactly right.
the following year.
That's right. So if they're so the point is, if they're healthy and they're on an Advantage plan, they're healthy and on a supplemental plan, they have to stay on that until later this year. Then they can make a switch.
Yep.
Okay, so that's the rules. Now, as far as the G to N, no problem. You just have to go through medical underwriting if you want to do that, unless you live in, of course, a birthday rule state. Yeah. So that's possible. And this, I think everyone needs to know this.
Yeah, that's very possible.
Yeah, everyone needs to know.
Right now, we can talk contextually. There's a lot of carriers, so most people think supplemental plans take their price increases on January 1st. That's not how it works. Mm-hmm. Like almost never. Maybe a carrier or two. Yeah. Most supplemental plans, like your Plan Gs, your Plan N, they take their premium increase sometime, usually between April and June. Mm-hmm. And so you might be getting, if you're listening to this and you've gotten a notice like that, we're seeing these come out somewhere around 12 or 15%, right? It's another big year. They're saying this is the last year of this. Historically, Medicare supplement plans moved up about 3 to 5%. Mm-hmm. For years. We started first helping people back in 2011 with that, and that was the story for a decade. Mm-hmm. 2.9, 3%, 4%, 5%, which is all standard. And then we kind of came out of COVID, and the utilization of these Medicare in general and all medical things has shot up drastically. And so the supplement plans for this is the third year now that we've seen double-digit rate increases. And we're hoping that ends. We're hoping that's over this year. This will be the last time. But if you are in that situation and you got a Plan G that's going from 150 to 175, that feels like a lot, right? And so just a little plug, we would love to help you see if there's a way to save some money. So there's kind of two options for that. The first one would be, let's say three options. The first one would be address exactly what this person said before. Can you go to an Advantage plan? Well, yeah, but probably more like annual enrollment period, and there's a lot of things you need to know about Advantage plans before you do that. The second way to do it is move from the plan you're on currently with that carrier to the same plan with the same benefits, the same everything, just with a different carrier. Because there's always new carriers coming into play, rolling out new rate blocks, being competitive on pricing, and maybe you're just in a plan that took a big rate increase and you have the opportunity to move, save $25, $35, whatever per month, and have the same coverage. It'll just have a different insurance carrier name on your card. Remember, there's no networks. The benefits are standardized. The other option is to move if you're like on a Plan G, or maybe you're on a Plan F. There's very few of those still, but if you're on a Plan F or a Plan G and you say, I need to save substantial dollars, probably the best way to do that is to consider a Plan N. Mm-hmm. But to make that switch, generally, you're going to have to answer some health questions. Right. Their company's going to run a prescription drug plan check. They're going to make sure you're not undergoing cancer treatment right now. They have the right to deny you if they don't like your health, your risk profile, right?
And our job would be to look at the different carriers that we represent to see if we can't find someone that would approve your case. We don't make the final decision, but we have a pretty good idea as to what carriers will take and won't take.
Yeah.
And we're happy to do that. And there's no risk involved either. If someone's considering switching, it's not like we're going to cancel the existing policy you have. We're just simply going to make an application for a new carrier. If they approve you, then we'll help you through the timing of making that transition. And if they don't approve you, no harm done. It's not like you're going to lose your plan at all. In fact, your existing company doesn't even know that you're trying to find a different insurance carrier. But I think the main thing to realize is that if you're on a supplemental plan, these are not tied to any open enrollment season, so you can switch those.
Yeah, a lot
really
of people
anytime you
do
want.
think the time to switch your supplement plan is the end of the year. No, we would love to help you now. Do that.
Yeah.
You get a premium rate increase, whether you're a client of ours or not.
Yeah.
Call us. Let me give you the office number to do that. It's 833-833-3661, 833-833-3661, and we could just compare all the options that are available.
Yep.
Because it is a little bit of a topsy-turvy market out there, I would say, as it relates to Medicare supplement plans. But there are some great carriers that have come out with new rate blocks that are very price competitive. And I think we're seeing, we can save people anywhere from probably $25 to upwards of $100 a month if they make a switch, and you have the same coverage.
Right. And you also you're resetting the clock. You're going to go into a new block or a new group.
Yeah.
Younger people, probably healthier people, and so I think not only could you save some money now, but down the road, I think you're putting yourself in a position to have a greater possibility of rate stability.
Yeah.
Because we know as those blocks age, then people pass away, people get off the plans, and so it's going to shrink, which means a greater risk of price increases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, another question here. If I keep my FEHB, Blue Cross and Blue Shield with Medicare A and B, and add an MA plan that has a give back for Part B, this person knows a lot.
Yep.
Does Blue Cross Blue Shield pay all deductibles and coinsurance that the MA plan doesn't pay?
Okay. Well, we can't speak to everything they're going to cover. That would, we can't do that. But I can tell you as a general rule what happens when you do that position, which means you're not going to use A and B. You're going to use your Medicare Advantage plan. You'll have some copays, but what happens is that would be submitted to Blue Cross Blue Shield, and they'll coordinate those benefits. So I would say it would be close. So we do know that if you're on Blue Cross Blue Shield, was that what they had?
Yeah.
Okay, so the Federal Blue, they'll coordinate those benefits. So I would say it will be minimal out of pocket. Okay, yeah, but it could be some for sure. Okay. Yeah.
Guys, thanks for being with us today. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about the 3 things that Medicare will never cover. Some people think, maybe you think that Medicare covers everything, or maybe you're not for sure exactly what Medicare covers. Well, Medicare is great coverage, right? But there are 3 things that it never covers. And so in tomorrow's episode, we're going to be talking about that. So make sure you tune in. If you want to be a part of the show, phone number is 833-824-2004. We scrub all your personal information away, so you're not going to be identifiable or anything, but we'd love to talk to you. If you have stories or experiences or questions, anything Medicare or Social Security related, this is your opportunity to talk to my dad, the nation's leading expert and educator on all of this stuff. And so take advantage of that opportunity. We're not going to try to sell you anything, obviously. It's just going to give you information and help directly for your situation. So if you need immediate help on comparing plans and you want to work with one of the people on our team, setting up drug plans, advantage plans, supplement plans, whatever it is, we're insurance brokers. We can help you with that. The phone number for our office is 833-833-3661, 833-833-3661. We're open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Central Time every day, and got a team of people that would love to help. So if we can help you, give us a call. We will see you tomorrow talking about the 3 things